almost reached the end of our pick of the world's top robotic warriors. We think these last two come closest to achieving the holy grail of all robotic vehicles, keeping flesh and bone from ever having to go in harm's way. For sheer brute strength, nothing can match our number 2 choice, the Crusher.
The Crusher can negotiate very difficult terrain and can do so by itself without any human involvement.
They can figure out how to get from point A to B, and they can also figure out how to get there so that they minimize the chance of being seen.
No other vehicle has the kind of ability the Crusher has.
If you have a robot that can carry as much as 8,000 pounds of gear, that's going to make a big difference.
Weighing in at 6.5 tons, the Crusher can also carry up to 4 tons of payload, so you don't want to get in its way.
The name The Crusher came from a video we did years ago showing the vehicle driving over cars and smashing them.
As the vehicle goes through different kinds of rough terrain, sometimes by plan, sometimes not by plan, it can survive.
It plans a path and it attempts to drive that path. But when it encounters an obstacle, then it plans an alternative route.
This is an Army system, and mission completion is the goal.
While the smaller Mule is designed primarily to work alongside soldiers, the Crusher likes to work alone. Highly autonomous, it can tackle almost any mission imaginable.
Everyone has their own idea of what you can do.
Crusher can go places where it's too dangerous to put a manned vehicle. Crusher can go places where there might be radiation, biological contamination, or chemical contamination.
If you start at the simple end, it's resupply. Maybe you need to haul fuel, ammunition, bring injured people back from the front line.
Crusher can go on missions that might be too boring for a person to go.
It is possible for Crusher to be used for a scouting mission where it is sent out ahead of the troops.
It could be miles in front, days in front, weeks in front, and it's your eyes and ears.
Might have to climb a ridge and stay there for a week and wait for something to happen.
So it's sitting there, it's using its fuel very slowly, it's maybe moving rarely, and it's moving in a very covert manner.
And Crusher doesn't have to be fed. It can just sit there and wait until something important happens.
It can be fitted with weapons, so you're going to have a robot which could, in theory, be able to go around the corner, find an enemy, and destroy that enemy without putting any soldiers at risk.
To help it achieve all these objectives, the Crusher has to be stealthy.
The vehicles are hybrid electric, so they can run with engine off. They can sit and watch quietly for a long, long time. And in fact, I think one of the biggest uses for one of these vehicles is simply reconnaissance. Just go and look quietly.
It also has to be extremely tough.
We've made these vehicles very resilient. We have a skid plate underneath that's suspended by rubber. We put an energy-absorbing front bumper on it. And we have tires that can absorb a lot of energy. So the whole name of the game for us is absorb that impact energy.
But most of all, the Crusher has to be smart.
It is equipped with sensors that are able to measure the shape of the terrain in front of the vehicle. It takes this data and sends it to computers, which interpret it and decide which parts of the terrain are safe and which parts of the terrain are dangerous.
A software system called Far Range Online Learning enables Crusher to detect hazards before it reaches them.
Initially, Crusher could only see out to perhaps 20 meters. And now Crusher is being able to see out perhaps to 50 meters and even beyond that. That lets it make better and better choices as it plans its routes.
One of the things that programmers do is they take maps of key places all over the world and they program that into the computer so that a robot will have an internal reference point if it's in a particular city and it comes to a certain location. That is part of how it knows where it needs to go.
The Crusher has endurance, weapons capability, stealth, and reliability. But most of all, it has an artificial intelligence that other robot systems can only dream of. It's so smart, it's even starting to surprise its designers.
It's doing things in off-road terrain that start to get human-like. You see it pull up to a ditch and pause for a couple seconds. You see it back up, drive around a tree, and go around up a hillside. And you scratch your head and you say, wow, that actually was a computer doing that, not planned at all, just working through its algorithm. And that, to me, is where it gets to be really neat, when you start to see human-like decision-making happening.
We've almost finished our rundown of the top 10 robotic weapons. And for the ultimate winner among unmanned military machines, we have to return to the skies. Meet the X-47B, the technological dream machine that is the future of U.S. Navy unmanned aviation.
We're talking about a new way of doing business. It allows so much more capability.
This thing does not get bored, it does not get tired, and it excels at the mundane.
Currently a demonstration model, the X-47B has been designed for use aboard Nimitz-class aircraft carriers. Its tailless batwing shape will make it the stealthiest unmanned system ever to take to the skies. Unveiled at the end of 2008, it will carry out surveillance and strike missions, all autonomously and at long range.
Something that the Navy needs. It's a long-range strike capability. Not only does it give you an overnight picture for the battle group, it also can reach out 3,000 nautical miles, stay 50 hours with refueling, and give up not only a picture, but can do strikes too, for time-sensitive targeting.
As an unmanned aircraft, obviously, there's no pilot on board to grow hungry or tired. And with the ability to refuel in midair, the X-47B has an unrivaled endurance.
Once you enable an unmanned airplane to be refueled, what's the next limit? If it can get as much gas as it needs, it's never going to get tired. Let's say a fighter can do 5-10 hours. This thing's doing 50 hours. She's staying in an area, she's keeping situational awareness throughout a battle area, and that's something that's unique.
For too many times, we have been able to go into a battle, influence it for a short period of time as an Air Force, and then withdraw to rearm and re-equip. With this airplane, it will be with the warfighter 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Initially, the X-47B will be used as a spy in the sky, but should the need arise, it will be more than capable of carrying out strike missions.
The first missions we're looking at right now are the intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, but this thing has bays sized for 4,500 pounds internal payload.
If the futuristic shape seems familiar, that's because it's an evolution of the B-2 stealth bomber.
B-2 is a flying wing, basic Jack Northrop design variant. The X-47B really grew from that. We learned a lot about flying wing technology and the characteristics of that type of airfoil, and we've managed to translate that and to be able to get the best as far as range and payload for a carrier-type airplane. Basically, we've taken the aerodynamic characteristics of the B-2, we've taken a lot of what we learned on flight controls and transferred it into the X-47B.
Landing on an aircraft carrier is difficult enough when you have a tail to help stabilize your plane. For the X-47B, hitting just the right landing spot at the right time presents an even greater challenge.
United States Air Force lands on something 300 feet wide, 2 miles long, and it doesn't move. Now you're taking 4 acres, and you're taking something that travels about 150 miles an hour, and you have to hit it with pinpoint accuracy.
You're pointing a 50,000-pound beast at a national asset, so you have to be sure of the way that you're going to go land.
The X-47B's ability to land autonomously on such a small area with equal precision every time, regardless of the conditions, is just one of the reasons it's our ultimate unmanned vehicle.
The challenges are not really insurmountable. It is that the airplane picks up a millimeter wave at about 6 nautical miles and starts riding that down. To the computer running at 100 hertz loops, it's like watching an hour hand run. It sees all the wind changes, sees all the movement of the carrier. It doesn't matter how dark the night is, what the winds are, how bad the weather, the computer's unafraid, knows where the carrier is, knows the millimeter wave it should be on, knows how to do the landing.
X-47B gets Ultimate Weapons vote for the #1 unmanned weapon of choice, the ultimate combination of endurance, lethality, and stealth. Do you agree? We've shown you our top 10 robotic warriors.